As we enter the last week of the January window, who should your club look to buy? Let us know your thoughts down below. So starting with Liverpool, and I think it's pretty clear that we need a new centre-back. If you look at our options at the moment, you've got Gomez, Van Dijk and Konate. All very good defenders within their own right, but the age profile, the injury record, and the fact that Konate looks like he's going to leave in the summer means Liverpool have to strengthen within that position. And also, Liverpool are without Leone, which is a big miss for them because based upon Konate's form this season, he'd probably be starting over the Frenchman. So who should Liverpool actually look to sign? Because Van de Ven would have been a good option, but his injury record's not great, he would have cost a load, and also Tottenham said there's no chance he leaves this window. So we took a look at João Ordonez from Club Brugge, a brilliant young centre-back. He's only 21 years of age, he's already made over 100 appearances for Club Brugge, so he's not a player who's naive and inexperienced, and he's someone who could pretty much walk straight into Liverpool's team. Plus the fact he's composed on the ball and he can play a high line too because he's got those physical attributes. The only slight downside to his game is that he's not great aerially, but that will come with age and that will come with consistent playing, especially when you're alongside Van Dijk and Konate, who are two of the best aerial centre-backs in the league. And in addition to that, he's been outstanding for Ecuador recently, keeping 7 clean sheets in his last 8 World Cup qualifiers, all while facing the likes of Argentina and Brazil in the process. And plus, he wouldn't cost an arm and a leg either. He'd probably be in the region of around 35 to 45 million pounds. So he's not going to break the bank for Liverpool, considering how much they spent in the summer window. So overall, it's pretty easy to tell that he is the perfect fit for Liverpool. Not only does he fit their system stylistically, he's young and got potential to grow, but he's also got the relevant experience Liverpool need at this moment in time. And also, as previously mentioned, he's not going to break the bank, which is perfect in Liverpool's current situation.
Now moving on to Chelsea, whose situation is very specific, as it all depends on how the new boss Liam Rosenior wants to play. Now Rosenior typically sets up his side to attack through the central zones, which then causes him to overload the midfield before then playing out wide to the wingers or overlapping fullbacks. And that system only works if your midfield can control possession, resist pressure and recycle the ball effectively. And that is exactly why the midfield has to be addressed before deadline day. On top of that, this need has only been amplified by the long-term injuries to Latvia and Asugo, leaving Chelsea extremely short of these profiles for Rosenior. After Chelsea's 3-1 win over Palace, João Pedro revealed that the new boss has demanded more intensity, especially out of possession when they're trying to win the ball back. And that's where Boadi comes in. At just 18 years old, Boadi already looks like a midfielder built for this exact system. He thrives in tight central areas, he shows elite composure, and that makes him perfect for a possession-based side, especially when they're trying to bait the opposition press. And tactically, he offers exactly what Chelsea need. He's been trusted as lone 6 for Lille, but can also thrive as a number 8, which gives Liam Rosenior exactly what he needs in terms of obviously quality, but also versatility. And that allows the likes of Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo to be rested, and also be trusted when they're rested because he can still keep that dominance and that control in midfield with Boadi in there. But there's also a wider recruitment logic here. And that is that statistically, Ligue 1 players have transferred well into the Premier League. That's why we see Chelsea utilise Strasbourg as a part of Blueco for a development centre, because if you can perform well there in Ligue 1, there's a very good chance that you can perform well in the Premier League. And in more recent cases for Chelsea, it's actually been for their manager, Liam Rosenior, who of course was doing well at Strasbourg and moved to Chelsea, and that shows that he can actually thrive and has expertise, has experience in developing young players, which makes him a very good fit and Chelsea a very good fit for Boadi. And at roughly 40 million to 60 million pounds, Boadi isn't just a short-term fix, he's actually a long-term solution for Chelsea's tactical direction.
Next up we have Arsenal, and for the Gunners you could argue that they desperately need a left winger, or you could make a fair case that they already need to replace Gyökeres because he's not the right fit. But for me, there's one area that they have to bolster in this window if they want to win the league, or even win the Champions League, and that's midfield depth. Declan Rice, Zubimendi, fantastic footballers, and they really fit Arsenal's system down to a T. But in terms of who they have behind them for cover, there isn't really much there, and that's why they need someone to come on, off the bench, and impact the game and give those players a rest. And the man of choice is actually a player we just touched upon in Boadi from Lille. So he'd be fantastic at covering for Zubimendi because Zubimendi is really press resistant and he's brilliant at progressing the ball from the first to the second phase of build-up. Boadi, he could do the same. And in terms of covering for Rice, what's Rice good at? Breaking lines, linking up with the attackers, and Boadi can do the same. He's a versatile midfielder and very technically proficient, and Arteta would love a profile like that in his midfield. Plus, Arteta doesn't trust Norgard, and he's probably the best deputy for Rice apart from Mourinho, but of course, as we know, Mourinho is often used in the final third. And when you look at Liverpool last season with Gravenberch and Endo, Slot didn't trust the Japanese midfielder, hence why Gravenberch really got fatigued as the season went on, and it did cost Liverpool in those games. For example, the Champions League ties against PSG, the Carabao Cup final against Newcastle, Gravenberch was overplayed. So Arsenal really don't want the same to happen to Rice if they want any chance at winning the Premier League or the Champions League, because Rice is undoubtedly Arsenal's best player and he is the linchpin between the midfield and the attack.
And moving on to Manchester City, whose search for a right back has actually led them to Rome, and more specifically, Wesley. For me, Wesley is best described as a physical monster, and he's the kind of fullback that you'd call a train because he has endless stamina, constant overlapping runs, and is consistently engaging in duels, which makes him an absolute threat and a nuisance on that right-hand side, and that actually earns his comparisons to Maicon. As of this January, Wesley is viewed as a primary target by City, and it is clear to see why. He's currently a key starter for Roma, who have a strong chance of finishing top 4 for the first time since 2018, meaning he's match fit and clearly operating at a high level. And from a tactical perspective, he actually fits Guardiola's system extremely well. Despite the physical label that is put upon him, Wesley has already shown that he can actually invert into the midfield quite well. And that has already been proven at Roma because on the ball he has a 79.4% pass completion rate. And the Brazilian ranks in the 90th percentile for progressive carries among European fullbacks, and in the 92nd percentile for accurate crosses, giving City genuine width and an attacking presence from out wide when they do need it. And physically he is elite because his rapid pace allows him to recover when City's high line is exposed, and defensively he actually averages over 2 tackles per 90. And he's also offering more attacking output than many people would expect, with 3 goals already this season, proving to be more of an attacking threat than pass-heavy defenders like Rico Lewis. Chuck in his versatility, having played right back, right wing back and even left wing back, he is clearly a ready-made, low-risk and versatile option for Pep Guardiola. And at roughly £35 to £40 million, this is a plug-and-play signing that strengthens City immediately.
And moving on to Manchester United. So in my opinion, the position that needs strengthening the most has to be the midfield. But the exact profile midfield, well, that's up for debate. Don't get me wrong, Michael Carrick's side would certainly benefit from a player like Anderson or Baleba, due to their ball-carrying qualities and their all-round ability. But for me, there's a certain individual that would be absolutely instrumental for United and would probably be the best pick out of the 3. And that player goes by the name of Adam Wharton. And yes, it may be a little unrealistic, just due to the fact that he'd cost anywhere between 80 to 100 million. And are United going to spend that this late on in the window? Probably not. But in terms of profile, he'll be the perfect fit for United moving forward. In terms of their current midfield options, they don't have a player who can progress ball from deep and don't have a player who's comfortable when receiving possession. Ugarte, a decent midfielder, Kobbie Mainoo the same again, but none of them are proficient at receiving the ball in tight areas and spraying those 30-40 yard passes out wide, or even little 1-2s and progressing play up the pitch. Adam Wharton's a master of that. Watch what he does for Palace. Granted, it's a slightly different system where he plays in a 2 with a back 3 and a front 3, but if you have a look at him, the way he functions is idealistic for United. United have always struggled at progressing the play, hence why Fernandes so often has to drop deep, whereas a player like Wharton would totally eliminate that need and allow Fernandes to express himself in the final third, which we all know where he's best. But of course, Baleba and Anderson would be brilliant signings for United and would certainly add qualities that they do lack. But I feel like Wharton, in terms of his midfield presence on the ball, is something that United severely are deprived of at the moment.
And lastly is Tottenham, whose target is about immediate impact. Thomas Frank's demands are clear. He wants an experienced, intelligent and hard-working attacker who can operate across multiple roles, and Ademola Lookman ticks every box. Because Lookman's biggest strength is his positional flexibility. He can operate on the left, on the right or even centrally, giving Thomas Frank much needed tactical freedom, both in rotation and in-game adjustments. Having never truly replaced Son and not replacing Brennan Johnson earlier this window, it is clear to see that Tottenham are in desperate need of attacking options, and that is proven by the fact that Jed Spence is currently playing left wing, which is obviously not viable for Thomas Frank. And look man, that is where he fits perfectly, having played off the left for most of his career and cutting in on that stronger foot. And since moving to Atalanta, the winger's output has exploded. He famously scored a hat-trick in the 2024 Europa League final, and picked up 5 goals and an assist in 7 Champions League games last season, while finishing with 26 goal involvements in 38 matches across all competitions. And while his Serie A numbers have dropped off with just 2 goals this campaign, that does come with some added context, because the Nigerian submitted a transfer request in the summer, which consequently has led him to starting fewer games, which isn't an excuse, but it is something you have to factor when he doesn't want to be at the club. Despite that, his recent AFCON return has actually been quite impressive, with 3 goals and 4 assists showing that when he is trusted, he can still deliver on the biggest stage. In addition, Lookman has crucial Premier League experience, having played for Everton, Fulham and Leicester, meaning minimal adaptation time, which is exactly what you want from a January signing. And on top of that, there's an existing connection within the squad, as Lookman has already played with Tottenham's main striker Solanke at England youth level, which could accelerate chemistry and understanding in the final third. And the cherry on the cake is that Atalanta have slashed their asking price to £29 million, which makes this a low risk and a potential high reward for Tottenham Hotspur. To put things into perspective, at 28 years old, Lookman is in his prime, bringing that experience, intensity and immediate output to a Tottenham side in transition. But let us know down below if you disagree with any of our picks, and join Talkin'Ball Plus if you want to have a deeper discussion.